Hi, in this video we're going to replace the incandescent bulbs in this climate control with blue LED bulbs. This came out of a 2004 Silverado, I believe it was, and we're going to take it apart. These things aren't that fun to work on, but they're doable if you got the right tools. First thing I'm going to do is pull off the little knobs here that come off sometimes pretty easy, sometimes not. These are the ones you got to worry about. If you pull on these too hard, you will pull the little arm right off the circuit board and then it's junk. You'll just have to buy a new one. What you can do to get it or make it a little easier is I use a heat gun. You can use a hair dryer or a heat gun if you have it. And what I do is heat these up real carefully that we don't overheat it. Get back and forth on it. Quickly move that. I take an Allen wrench, shove it in there, push down on that board, and take a pair of needle nose to pull these off. Stick an Allen wrench in this side, hold the thing down, and then pull it right off. And voila, we didn't break it. Set them aside. You don't need the soldering iron any longer. Or not the soldering iron, but the heat gun. You don't need that any longer. This is a 3/16 bit. It's the metric size, whatever that is equal to. But I'm just going to use this because it works close enough. I don't have a metric this size. So we just take these 4 screws out. Set these off to the side here, and you easily pull the face up and off, put it away, and you got to get the board out of here. What I do is I just put the screwdriver on this end and pry up in both sides. There you go. Let's flip it up and over, and there's another bolt here holding this board in, which is size 7/32 is what I'm using, or you can use whatever the equivalent metric is. This works fine for me. Just pull that out, and you got to kind of lift it over that little tip and pull it out. Then you can set this aside. Now we can get rid of this too so we don't lose it. Set that aside. What we got to do is remove these bulbs. There's 8 of them. There's 3 here, 3 here, then you get 2 in the middle, 1 here and 1 here. This one, boy, it must have got so hot. You can see it's burnt, that the blue cap is gone. It doesn't appear. Actually, it looks like it's stuck in here. There it is. That's weird. They don't usually just come off. Maybe someone's been in here before. Doesn't look like it. Maybe they opened it, looked at it, and put it back together. That's why it's here. Anyway, we need to take all these bulbs out. I use what we call a desoldering iron. And it just sucks the solder right out of there, and then you can pull the bulb right out. Usually that one's out. Then oh, that one just fell right out. Get that little one down here. And that one will fall out. I know no one hardly has one of these. So what I'm gonna show you how to do it with just a regular soldering iron. Regular soldering iron, we'll go with this bulb here. You find it, find the bulb on the back side and just heat it up and kind of bend it. As you see, I bent it toward the left here, Then we're going to heat the other side up, and then we'll rock it back and forth until you can get it to come out. You can feel it coming out. Just keep heating it up and pulling, and voila, the bulb will pull out eventually. The only problem is now all the holes are filled with the solder from me melting it. So what I do is I take a straight pin. You can buy these at Walmart. I think this is like 500 of them for a couple bucks. I just keep them on hand in case I want to do or have to clear a hole. I'll put it right on top of one of the holes here. Keep my finger on it. And then I'll just heat this up and slowly push the pin through. As you see, the pin will go through. I just kind of make it circle a little bit and then pull it out, and you can look, you got a clear hole. Just keep doing that to all of them as you work your way through them. Hard to hang on to this pen with big fat hands. Just set it on top of there best I can. Then heat it up and slowly push it through until it comes, there we go. That comes straight through the board, as you can see. Then I just pull her back out. And you do that for all of them until you got them all nice and cleared. I'm going to finish this with the desoldering iron, so I'm going to pause this for now. Okay, now I got all the bulbs out, and we're going to put in the LEDs. I found this handy dandy stand on Amazon, so I bought it. It holds the board nice and easy, so I can work on it. What we're going to do, we're going to put in the LEDs now. What I got is a kit that I use here. It comes with all the bulbs needed for the job. We got little square LEDs. One leg's longer than the other. The long leg is your positive, the short leg is the negative. They have to go in correctly or they will not light. This is a 360 degree LED bulb, which means it will give you a 360 degree viewing angle. So it's basically like an incandescent bulb, light all the way around, where most LEDs that you find will not have that kind of viewing angle. And it gives you what they call hot spots. It'll be a little brighter here and a little duller here. This gives you the absolute perfect lighting effect across the whole board. They are good from 6 volts to 14 volts. This particular piece, these 3 bulbs here and these 3 bulbs here, take 6 volt incandescent bulbs. It only puts out 6 volts. This bulb will work perfectly fine there. Then in the middle, oh, by the way, these are blue LEDs. They look white, but when they're lit, they are actually blue. And they are 5mm. No resistors are required either. They're built into the bulb, so you don't need to worry about any of that junk. Then in the middle here, you get 2 3mm white bulbs. The reason we're going with white in the middle is because you want to be able to see the blue and the red when it's lit up. If you put a blue in here, the blue won't show up at all, and the red is so dim you can't see it. So I put white here and white here, so this lights up perfectly. But everything else, all this will be blue. Nice, even blue when it's done. So what we're going to do, and it's the same on this 3mm bulb too. The short leg is your negative, the longer leg is your positive. So we're going to start putting these in, and then we'll solder them into place once we get them into the board. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a bear to get in there, but not too bad. I usually let it stick up a little bit as long as it's through the board, and I can solder from the other side. It doesn't matter if they stand up a little bit off the board. Just be careful pushing them in. You don't want to push too hard and break anything. And I just keep doing that. Get around here, pop that one in. And we'll take one of our little white ones, Put it into place. I'm kind of weird about this. I usually just do one side at a time and then I start to solder. What I'm doing now is I'm putting on what they call a solder paste. You don't have to use this. It just makes the solder stick a lot better. But, oops, that one fell out. It's not easy to find. I had to buy it off of Amazon, but you can find it. But if you don't do a lot of soldering, I wouldn't waste my money. I just do it because it makes it a lot easier, especially when you're doing 10 or 15 of these a day. Now we're going to solder. Well, hang on here. Let me move this over here. Bring in my fan here. This is actually a, I don't know what you call it, a smoke eater, I guess. You turn it on, all the smoke and fumes get sucked into it so you don't breathe them in. So, now let me get this out of here a little bit so you can see. That one LED keeps falling out. But anyway, heat up one side and then just lay the solder on nice and easy. You reach around the other side and feel it, make sure it doesn't wobble. If it doesn't wobble, you're good. You can usually see the solder start like puddle a little bit and you know you're doing alright. It's kind of probably hard to see in the video, for sure, but you just slowly heat it up and go around. Just in case you're curious, this is a 40-watt soldering iron with a fine tip, and it does a great job. It doesn't get it too hot, but it gets it hot enough. For some reason this LED just likes jumping out of there before I can get to it. So I'm going to leave it a little bit of an angle here so I can get some solder at least on the first leg. Second leg. Flip it over a little bit. Just carefully heat it up. And don't worry about the solder paste that's left over. It won't hurt anything if you leave it there. Or you can clean it. You can use like a toothbrush and some alcohol. This is the kind of alcohol I use. I also had to get this off of Amazon because I couldn't find 99% alcohol anywhere in the store. I didn't look all over the town, but I found it on Amazon, so I bought it while I was buying some other stuff. But this stuff works great at cleaning any of this extra paste off if you don't want it there. And then I just bought some little cheap brushes like this, bought a whole bag of them, and I just use these to clean it, then a towel, and it cleans it up pretty good. So we got the one side done. As you can see, we got our 4 bulbs. Now we're going to go, let me shut that thing off. Now we're going to go for the next 4. We'll just get these guys in the holes as such. Guess I can put this guy in here. Put that one down in there. It doesn't take long once you get used to doing it, but most of you probably only do this once in your lifetime. I kind of do this daily, and I could probably do this whole thing in 5 minutes anymore. And just slap on a little of that paste. And I'm going to grab the solder and my soldering iron. I don't think I'm going to turn that fan on this time. I just want it inhale any of that. Thing's kind of noisy. Just heat it up, blotch it, heat it up, get a little solder on there. Got too much on my tip here. Just keep heat it up, then push the solder on there and let it kind of form around the little legs that are sticking up. Just keep going around until you got them all soldered. Make sure the solder doesn't cross between the two, otherwise you'll ground it out and it won't work. Or you could have a little bit of a surprise. Let's see, they all seem to be nice and solid. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the excess here. The legs stick up a little bit. I just don't like them sticking up too much. So I just take a little pair of side cutters and I'll cut the longer legs off. Just go all the way around it, cutting all the extra off, like so. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to clean it with some alcohol, get that stuff off the board. I just got to dip this thing in here like so. And then I just kind of watch it. Don't worry, it won't hurt the board. This stuff evaporates pretty quick because it is 99% alcohol. I try to get in there as best I can to clean it. Sometimes this stuff's hard to get off. So I use a detail brush that I bought. Well, that stinks. That's alcohol abuse. Anyway, just kind of make sure I clean it real good. And I just kind of pat it with a towel, get any of the excess off of it. And don't worry, it'll dry. Boy, I made a mess there, didn't I? But anyway, clean that up later. They're all in, so we'll just take this thing off our holder here. Get this thing out of the way. Then we'll get our casing here and just kind of slide this thing. There's a little groove in here and there's a groove here. You just kind of slide it into place, then push it down to that little tip comes through. And then you take your bolt, nut, whatever you want to call it, put it on there and we'll screw her back down. She's down. Then you just kind of fold the board over, push it into the little tabs here, then just push down and it clicks into place. Now I need, here we go, here's my harness. I'll plug it into there. Let me get my power source and turn it on, see what we got. There you go. Everything's lighting like it's supposed to. We can put it back together, then test it in the vehicle. You can do this before you put the front plate back on. Just stick that piece in your car or your van or truck, plug it in to the harness that you unplugged it, turn on your headlights or turn your ignition on, turn on your headlights, however yours is set up, and these should all light. If they don't light, you did something wrong. The kit also comes with directions. They will be emailed to you. A nice colored direction page shows you which way the bulbs go and how to do it. But this video pretty much tells you how to do everything. So I'm going to turn this off. Whatever you do, don't forget to put this back in there. Some of these climate controls have two, one on each side. It depends on whether you have a rear defrost, which is right here. This one does not because it came out of a Silverado. If you're working on a Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, Trailblazer, any of them with this particular face, this video will work on, but you'll have these little pads, which actually the buttons here push against the board and make the contact and switch things off and on. There's little tits, whatever you want to call them. There's 4 of them. You just got to line them up with the holes in the board here, then put it back in where it belongs. It just kind of sits there like so. Then you stick the faceplate on. Be careful you don't poke the knobs through the wrong hole. There you go. Goes on like that. And then let me pull that plug. We'll put our screws back in. Find my nut driver that I was using. And just hand tighten these real quick before I use the little electric screwdriver thing. Sometimes they go a little crooked on you. And I just kind of get them started all the way around. And then I use my nut driver. and be careful. You don't want to over tighten them. I don't use anything fancy. You don't need a 14, 22 volt, 30 volt, whatever they're up to now drill. Just a little cheap thing I bought at Walmart. It's a whopping 4 volts. It was cheap, but it works perfect for this kind of work. Holds a charge for a long time. It's nothing great, but it's easy to pull little cheap screws out of plastic housings like this. And screw it all back together like so. Then we put our knobs back on. The little white goes on the outer side. Just snap them back into place. The reason these are so hard to get off to start with is because they're actually pressed on from the factory. This thing is supposedly not to be rebuilt. They said it's disposables. They want you to buy a new one just for some light bulbs. I say to hell with that. We're going to take it apart, which we can. You just got to be careful that you don't pull on these too hard. Use the method I showed you, and with the Allen wrench, and you should be okay. But if you overdo it, you're going to be buying a new one. So we got all those knobs back on. We'll plug it up one more time. And now let me shut off all the lights in here so we can get a little better view of it. One more, and now turn on the power source. And voila, you got nice blue lighting, and as you can see here, you can still see your slides real well. It'll definitely look a lot better in the dark, but you got nice even blue. There's no dead spots or hot spots as they call it. It just looks like it's supposed to. You can get these LEDs. We carry the blue, green, and white. There is red, but the red is so weak you can barely see them. So I don't recommend them. I don't even think I have them for sale any longer. So you got your 3 colors, white, green, and blue. The blue looks excellent. Seems to be everybody's favorite. The white looks nice also. And that's pretty much it. It's ready to go back to the customer. If you have any questions, you can look on the website. I'll leave a link to the our website and to the product that you can buy it if you want. And also, if you want this done and you can't do it yourself, I'll leave a link there, because we also change this. We'll do this for a customer, and this is about $49, and that's shipping back to you. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching.